So it's been about a week since my last upload and I need to get one out, and while I'm working on bigger and better projects, I need to be able to put out at least something. So I figured, guys, today I, Faith or Moliminous, will be covering a topic that's been kind of going around the brony fandom at large. I don't really consider myself part of this diet furry group of people, despite the fact that about 80% of my content is brony related, and the vast majority, I guess, on other channels are in fact brony related. But I don't really consider myself part of this fandom as much as I am a humble observer. I don't go to cons, I don't really interact with the other horse famous people. I'm pretty sure most of them hate me and literally half of them have me blocked. I can't blame them, I'm an asshole. I'm pretty spicy on the Twitters, which by the way, you can follow me at Moliminous and you can see me get in fights with a bunch of lefties and righties because I find it hilarious to do so. But speaking of the left versus the rights, that's what seems to be going on in the brony fandom. You see, everyone is a fucking Nazi who disagrees with you, or they're an SJW shill. There is no in between. And if you are in the center, if you are a Fin center, you are just as worse, just as bad. I can't speak today. You are just as bad as the literal Nazis and Marxists and communists, and you get the bullet too. Just remember that. Pick a side, you pussy. But if you guys know this person, which you probably don't because he fucking rest in peace in the obscurity, Whoop Master, has been going on a crusade, I guess, exposing the Nazis of the fandom. Now, sometimes he's right, sometimes he is right. There was a person called Ethereum Apex who I had a conversation with, who pretty much just boiled down to, yeah, he wanted to kick citizens out of Europe for being non-white, because of my ethno state. You notice the people who always cling to the race are usually the ones that don't have anything else going for them. He's a failed musician, a failed artist. I mean, this guy really doesn't really have anything to go for. Of course, he's gonna cling to his race, which he doesn't even know how to define. But that being said, there are plenty of other people where it's maybe a miss. Anon the Anon, a famous artist in the fandom and an incredible animator, some guy with an amazing work ethic. I mean, this guy puts out hit after hit after hit. He just keeps going, and he has the funniest little Italian voice you ever did heard. But he made a little spicy image. Hopefully I don't get flagged off of YouTube for even showing this. YouTube, take a look at my thumbnail or my icon. I'm okay. I can talk about this. I'm brown skinned, probably. Fuck, that's as far as you know I am. But he's got Applejack in the Kentucky Fried Chicken outfit, watching over her field as some zebras go to town on it, picking her apples, walking the field. You know, they look adorable, adorable little zebras. But come on, we all know what this image is kind of dog whistling. It's Applejack owning slaves because she's country, and that's what the South did. Now you could take this as being in poor taste in reference to it being with the show characters, and you could be like, this is obvious mouthpiece work, but I don't think that's what they were going for. Clearly, they had to have known this. They had to have known that this was going to spark controversy and probably get them a lot of attention, because nothing fuels a career more than outrage culture. But they said that they weren't intending that. It was just a shit post. They thought some people might be upset, but most people wouldn't care. That did not happen. In fact, it created a shitstorm that lasted for a long time, spewing out other shitstorms that came from it. This was a category 5 clusterfuck. And in came the virtue signalers saying how racist and bad this was, and how this was just perpetuating the alt-right and Nazis in the fandom, and how this person was a Nazi for drawing this, and he wasn't. I don't believe Anon the Anon is a Nazi. I don't believe most of these people are Nazis. Do they dog whistle? Do they play into that kind of alt-right mentality? Of course it does. It gets clicks, it gets views, it gets subs, it gets you money, it gets you all those shekels. I can't blame a content creator for trying to grab as much money as they can before they fade into obscurity in like 3 or 4 years, as everyone does. But I don't think that they're necessarily racist. And it brings up a good point. Is really seeing art like this turning people racist? You can say maybe it's normalizing stuff, but we're not normalizing actual slavery. No one is saying that actual slaves are good or that black people don't deserve rights. Not from that image. Are there Nazis and alt-righters who will agree with this image or find some subtle humor in it? Of course they do. I'm in a chat group right now filled with them as I'm recording this video. But I don't think the art in and of itself is indicative to Anon the Anon being racist. In fact, I tried to get him to say some racist shit and he wouldn't. He wouldn't even joke about it. Now maybe he knew I was recording, but it still would have been. But it does bring up a good kind of topic. Does the media we consume influence our actions? And if so, to what extent? Because if we're going to say that these images are normalizing a culture of racism, of bigotry, then we have to then say that video games, movies, and media actually do foster an environment of violence, of misogyny, of racism, and all kinds of other horrible things. Because those are all themes found in multitude of video games. It only takes joining a COD lobby once to realize that anyone with a mic on that game will immediately drop the hard R and call you all kinds of homophobic and racial slurs. Is it Call of Duty's fault that people are like that? Is it going to affect those people in real life? Do those people after getting off the game also harbor some weird feelings towards black people? Does that translate to other people who are viewing and hearing that content? It's kind of hard because on one hand, I want to say video games and media don't affect you, but we are by and large a product of our environment. And to some degree, all that media does in fact infect you. I just don't know to what degree. Rootmaster is trying, I think, to do the right thing. He's trying to call out racist, but then when you're calling him out for his shortcomings, such as, well, calling someone a probable pedophile for disagreeing with him about a shirt being fine to wear at a convention, which was an Ohago pony shirt, but it wasn't actually sexual, it just looked sexual. The source images were technically safe for work. He doxed him, showed his face, his full name, his city, etc. for being a probable pedophile. But this is the same person that goes on about how he loves Sweetie Belle, how he wants to have sex with underage characters. Now, I don't think fictional characters necessarily makes you a pedophile, but I'm gonna say if you're gonna dox someone for being a probable pedophile for that, then this is probably pretty bad optics. And I don't really think Whoopmaster is the one that we should be getting moralistic advice from. It seems like he pretty much says one thing and right behind your back is doing another thing. At the end of the day, I actually can commend the idea behind what Woot's doing. I just can't get behind the practice and the execution of what he's doing. There are legitimate Nazis in the fan, legitimate socialists and communists as well. All groups that I find exceptionally deplorable, though usually the ones that are calling for the exodus people of a certain skin color from a sovereign nation to be particularly egregious. But making art in of itself is not an act of racism. Is it dog whistling, or can it be at the very least? Of course. And I take umbrage with people who say that because they're not explicitly saying that they want to remove brown and black people from the country, or because they're not saying that they consider one race better than another, that they can't be a Nazi, or they can't have these kind of ideas. Here's the cold hard truth. You don't have to explicitly say pretty much anything for people to be able to glean your political or social standing and ideas. Your actions and your words kind of do that for us. We're humans. We infer and we draw connections where even sometimes there aren't them. If you're constantly making alt-right jokes and whistles to the alt-right side, people will consider you alt-right. If you're constantly doing stuff that would be considered left-leaning, people will consider you a lefty. If you're constantly just a cuck, people will consider you libertarian. Political extremism is something that should be dealt with and should be talked about. There are plenty in this fandom as there is in anime or any other large group. There is no social gatekeeping that can be done, but we can call out bad ideas. And I understand that there is also a legitimate question about platforming said ideas where you combat them in a public space, giving them kind of more airways. Which is why I'm also okay with cons disassociating themselves from certain individuals. If a con wants to ban you because of your political speech, they are well within their right to do so. If you are espousing ideas, which like Ethereum Apex, about how he wants to keep Germany, a majority white country, by the forceful removal of non-white individuals, that is probably an idea that a BronyCon doesn't want to support. God forbid that they exercise their right as a private company to disinvite people or to bar people. You do have the freedom to associate with those that you choose to do in a political sense. You don't have to host everyone. But if you take that to an extreme like Wootmaster and try to restrict the fandom from having certain people, you'll quickly find that that's an impossibility. You can't really gatekeep someone from a fandom that doesn't have a gate. Being a brony is simply self-identifying as one. There are bronies who don't even watch the show, who identify as bronies, who go to cons, who make music, who make content for the fandom. You'll never be able to weed them all out, but you can certainly call out those who are exhibiting behaviors that you feel is, and I'm gonna get flack for using this word, problematic. My stance on all of this is essentially, if you want to make edgy jokes, if you want to make edgy art, go ahead and do so, but realize that there's going to be consequences. But for those of you who are dishing it out, judging these people as either racist or not, you have to realize that one piece in of itself isn't necessarily someone being racist, and they could be ignorant. Sometimes, instead of canceling someone, maybe the best thing is to realize that, like yourself, and in this case, like Wootmaster himself, you have made edgy and probably offensive jokes in the past. Maybe this person, instead of being canceled, could be educated on why you believe that this art in of itself is harmful, or why a certain joke is just not funny or is more harmful than good. But hey, that's just my opinion, and it's probably the correct opinion, let's be honest, because it's coming from me, and I can only have correct opinions. But let me know what yours is down below in the comment section. You can again follow me on Twitter at Moliminous, like this video if you enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next one.